yeah, it's pretty touristy, but I needed breakfast. It's nearby. It's 7 o'clock. Let's do Ellen Stardust Diner. What do you say?
What else can I do?
The record shows I took the horse and did it my way. 3 little words, a couple of doves, and a ring on her finger from the person that she loves. Is this heaven, or is it just a wide
This is prior to 10 in the morning when the booths open at 11. Wow. Glad I came when I did.
You hold my spot, I'm gonna bake.
This is a roast duck dish at Uncle Lou. Looks and smells wonderful. Oh boy, that's good.
哦，没有没有，我刚才已经点了。
点了没有？叫了没有？
已经点了。
点了什么？
点了一个。
This is a crab and egg steamed noodle dish. It looks great. I've had one taste and it's quite good. It's a little bit bigger than I was expecting. But hey, this and a drink was only $7. So that's a decent value, especially in the city. Cats of Chinatown. Okay, I've started with 2 savory snacks. Both dishes a little bit bigger than I was expecting, based on what I saw online. We're headed out next for something sweet. It's the original Chinatown Ice Cream Factory. They've got some unique flavors in here. Let's go inside. ice cream, well, not just Instagrammable, like instantly Instagrammable, is also really delicious. Both the taro is the purple one, and the banana. Wonderful, full flavor, but not overly aggressively sweet. Delicious, delicious. Big recommend. When do you think it was the last time we built something like this in the United States? I mean, we seriously went through a period near the end of the 19th century, heading into the early 20th century, where this was the favored architecture. And you gotta admit that it carries some grandeur, some weight. This is just the entrance to a bridge. And they put all this into it. Wow. Now, but we're heading over this way. Right there. No mafia right here, but this used to be a spot that criminals would come down quite often. It was to the point that it was known as Murder Alley, because this was a spot where they could sort of hem one another in order to rub out their competitors. This is Doyles Alley. And now it's a spot for just hanging out, for tourists like me to come to. Let's talk about the TKTS discount theater ticket booths. It's pretty much what it sounds like. You're getting discount tickets to Broadway shows. But what you have to do is you have to show up the day of the show and buy your tickets then at this central location at Times Square. There's another location, but this is the main one. You go not being certain of getting tickets for the show that you're hoping for. That's the gamble that you're taking, and that's why you're getting them cheap. You're also getting them cheap because they're available. And people who make theater want more people in the seats. They want butts in seats. They want a full audience for their performance. They make more money that way. It's a more satisfying experience for the performers that way. And it just looks good. So they're willing to part with these seats at a lower price, on the day of the show. So that's the deal you're making. All 3 days that I did this, yes, I did it 3 different times, I showed up with a set of shows that I was interested in seeing, but I hadn't really made up my mind before I got in line. because I knew it was possible that something that I was interested in would fall off the board. There's a board, and then there's a website where you can see what's available. It's more advanced than I'm sure it once was. But I got into line not really certain of what my number one choice was. And that was part of the excitement, is in the time that I was in line, I got to think about it. I got to look and see, okay, what's available at what time? What's the range of what it's costing? Well, let me tell you, I ended up getting seats in rows C, D, and F for the 3 shows that I went to. Okay, that means I was right up front, not in the very front row where sometimes the edge of the stage is sort of in your way. And so those seats can be a little on the cheaper side. Not as cheap as the cheapest, but lower than a few rows back. I was in prime seats. And let me tell you, I spent half to a third of what those seats would have cost if I had bought them in advance. Yeah, a good seat at a Broadway show can cost $300 or more. Now, they can also cost less than that, depending on what sort of seats you're willing to take and what show you want. Hamilton, despite the fact that its original cast is not on stage anymore, is still very expensive. We're looking at a $350 ticket, maybe a tiny bit less, for a pretty average seat to see Hamilton. The 3 shows I saw, 2 of which had recognizable stars in them. People you've seen on TV, people who are Broadway legends were in these shows. Well, I got those seats. Again, row C, row D, row F at $100 or a little bit less. That's a pretty good price for those seats, for those shows. I was close enough that Patti LuPone looked me directly in the eyes as she sang The Ladies Who Lunch. Okay, so that's the sort of experience that you're paying for. It's not a low dollar experience, but TKTS is a way that you can have it at a much more reasonable price. So that's kind of what's going on where you're seeing me get in line here. I'm saving myself some money, but I'm also kind of rolling the dice. I feel like I came up pretty good this time.